I, 37-year-old female, and my husband, 39-year-old male, have been fostering our 6-month-old foster daughter for almost 3 months now. When she first came to us, her parents had been arrested for drug charges and neglect, and they are now facing a prison sentence. With no other family available to care for her, we took her in. When she arrived at 3.5 months old, she was severely malnourished and neglected both physically and emotionally. I've cared for newborns born addicted to drugs who were more settled than she was. It was suspected that she had been left to cry for hours on end, with no one tending to her. Fast forward to today, she has gained sufficient weight, is starting to show an interest in solid food, and is catching up with her milestones. However, her emotional and social development remains a concern. She rarely smiles, is hard to calm down, and needs to be held and comforted constantly. She is not babbling or cooing like some babies do, and won't sleep on her own, needing to be rocked to sleep. Sometimes she wakes up 3 to 4 times a night and won't settle on her own. My mother-in-law came over while I was holding the baby in a carrier while doing some house cleaning. The baby was getting cranky, so I took her into the nursery to rock her to sleep for a nap. It took about 45 minutes. When I came out, my mother-in-law said I should just leave her in the crib to cry it out. Otherwise, she'll never settle. I told her that wasn't an option. About 45 minutes later, the baby woke up. So I took her into the living room and sat on the floor to play with her. My mother-in-law suggested I should just get a playpen and let her learn to entertain herself. I again said that she gets upset to the point of being inconsolable if left alone for more than a minute or two. Fast forward a few days later, we went over to my mother-in-law's house for brunch. The social worker believes we have a good chance of legally adopting the baby. When we discussed this, my mother-in-law told my husband that we better stop coddling the baby so much. Otherwise, we'll have a spoiled child on our hands. Annoyed, I told her that I wasn't going to let a baby cry it out, especially one we are trying to form a positive bond with. My mother-in-law was miffed but said nothing. Later that night, my husband said his mom made a good point. I yelled, feeling bad, because it unsettled the baby and took a while to calm her down. I asked him how he would feel if he was locked in a room for hours with no food, no water, and no one tending to his needs, and no matter how much he begged and cried, he was ignored. I told him that the developmental pediatrician said she is making progress with forming a bond and learning to trust again, and that we need to keep being patient. He apologized for upsetting me, but now I feel like I might have overreacted by yelling at him when he was just trying to discuss it with me. I just want what is best for our foster daughter, regardless of whether she returns to her family, goes to a new family, or stays with ours. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. First off, not the idiot. I have actually been in your shoes. You are doing everything right. My daughter was our foster child. We were placed with her at 5 months old. It took a very long time for her to get over the abuse and neglect. I had to also hold her constantly. She had night terrors too. I have fostered many babies, and you need to do exactly what you are doing. She will guide you. Do not listen to your mother-in-law. Listen to your pediatrician and therapist. And thank you. My daughter is about to graduate high school. I feel privileged to have been able to be in her life, as I do with all the children I fostered. We adopted 3. Good luck. Comment 2. First off, thank you for your service of being a foster parent. I work in the child welfare field. The country is in need of good, loving homes, not the idiot. To me, it seems like you are doing everything right. Sometimes kids come to the system with generations of trauma that we might not know about. Showing love to a child and building trust are very important. Now, for the update, thanks so much for all the comments and support on my last post. It's been a week since I shared our story, and a lot has happened since then. Just a few days after my last post, we had a scheduled visit with the baby's biological parents at the prison. It was an emotional meeting, with both parents expressing their deep love for their daughter and their regret for the circumstances that led to her being taken into foster care. They shared that they had been struggling with addiction for years, and the birth of their daughter had been a wake-up call. They were now committed to getting clean and being the parents she deserved. As we left the prison, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. On one hand, I was happy that the baby's parents were taking steps to improve their lives. But on the other hand, I had grown so attached to this little girl, and the thought of potentially losing her was heartbreaking. Back at home, we continued to provide the baby with the love and care she needed. She was making progress, but it was slow. One night, as I was rocking her to sleep, she looked up at me with her big, innocent eyes and smiled. It was the first real smile she had ever given me, and it filled my heart with joy. In that moment, I knew that no matter what happened, I would always love this child. A few days later, we received some unexpected news. The baby's grandmother, who had been out of the picture due to her own struggles with addiction, had come forward and expressed interest in taking custody of the baby. This threw a wrench in our plans to adopt, and we were faced with a difficult decision. After much discussion and prayer, my husband and I decided that we needed to do what was best for the baby, even if it meant letting her go. We arranged a meeting with the grandmother, and it was clear from the moment we met her that she was a changed woman. She had been sober for over a year and had a stable job and home. She expressed her deep love for her granddaughter and her commitment to providing her with a loving and nurturing environment. As much as it pained me, I knew in my heart that this was the right decision. We worked with the social worker to arrange a gradual transition, with the grandmother spending more and more time with the baby until she was ready to take her home. The day we said goodbye was one of the hardest of my life. I held the baby close, breathing in her sweet scent and trying to memorize every detail of her face. As I handed her over to her grandmother, I felt a piece of my heart break. But I also felt a sense of peace, knowing that she was going to a loving home where she would be cherished and cared for. In the days that followed, I struggled with feelings of loss and grief. But I also felt a sense of pride in knowing that we had played a small part in this baby's journey. We had provided her with the love and care she needed during a critical time in her life, and we had helped to facilitate a reunion with her family. Looking back, I realized that this experience has changed me in ways I never could have imagined. It has taught me the true meaning of unconditional love and the importance of putting the needs of a child above my own desires. It has also shown me the incredible resilience of the human spirit and the power of second chances. As we move forward, I know that we will always carry a piece of this little girl in our hearts. And while our journey as foster parents may have come to an end, I am grateful for the opportunity to have loved and cared for her, even if it was just for a short time. Thank you for reading and for all your support during this challenging time. Am I the idiot for confronting my friend's controlling boyfriend? During my bachelorette party, I'm getting married in the fall and got back from my bachelorette party yesterday. There were 10 girls plus one guy who is gay. We went to an Airbnb in a major American city on the ocean and spent our time relaxing by the water and on a boat. We went out clubbing once, but that was it. One of my best friends since high school, Lindsay, has been dating Rob for 2 years. About a year and a half ago, Rob converted to Islam. This has caused a strain in their relationship because he has grown increasingly controlling and judgmental since this. I love Lindsay, but she's always been insecure and lets guys walk all over her. I guess she had to beg Rob to allow her to even go on this trip. Rob is very against alcohol and general party scenes. Here is some of what we dealt with. I felt horrible for Lindsay during all of this. I would say like clockwork, he called her every 90 minutes to 2 hours. There were multiple times she stepped out of whatever we were doing to talk to Rob on the phone for half an hour. She avoided being in group pics for the most part. We took one of all of us on the boat and she freaked out to the whole group to please not post it anywhere because Rob would freak out knowing she wore a two-piece without him there. I did snoop on her phone, which I regret when she left it out and it was blowing up with texts from Rob. I saw the horrible, disgusting things Rob was saying. I posted a pic of me and 2 other bridesmaids on the boat and we happened to be in bikinis because boat. He screenshotted it and sent it to Lindsay, basically calling us intimacy workers, sluts, fat, drunks, saying he's disgusted by who Lindsay surrounds herself with. He said she is going to embarrass him in front of his religious community too. He said if anything bad happened to any of us, it would be our own faults because we are drunk sluts. He insulted my fiance. Apparently my fiance is not a man because he lets me wear bikinis and drink alcohol. He also had quite a bit to say about our gay friend as well, ending with alluding that he should be unalive. When we got back, I texted him a very long message about what I thought of his actions. I said ruin the weekend because of how he tried to control Lindsay the whole time. I could tell her off she was all weekend because he was saying horrible things to her. He apologized to me, but did say he cannot help that the way we choose to live is against his religion and can't stand to see the woman he loves delve in sin, and said that he tried to tell her she shouldn't go. I insulted him in his perceived manhood. I'm not going to go into much more detail here due to CC, but I went off. Lindsay has told me that I should have let her handle it, and now things are so much worse for her. He's saying things like she needs to cut all of us out, especially me for disrespecting him. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot for being upset, but you should be upset with Lindsay. Rob is a controlling, misogynistic, hateful jerk, but Lindsay failed to handle it. She is the one who took all of his calls. Lindsay has to decide if she is willing to live with this man's completely unacceptable behavior. If Lindsay had grown a spine and either turned her phone off, blocked Rob, or finally broken up with him, your trip wouldn't have been ruined. Comment 2. I understand where you're coming from, but you probably made it worse for your friend. It is possible to be a Muslim and not be a total controlling jerk towards women, but for the conservative religious types, misogyny is deeply ingrained. Conservative religion in general, regardless of the specific denomination, places heavy control over women, and they're hateful because they want to maintain the patriarchy. Gay men challenge societal norms. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading. A lot has happened since my last post about the bachelorette party and the issues with Lindsay's boyfriend, Rob. After I sent that long message to Rob, things got pretty heated between us. He started sending me angry texts, accusing me of trying to sabotage his relationship with Lindsay and turn her against him. I tried to explain that I was just looking out for my friend, but he wasn't having it. Lindsay got caught in the middle of it all, and I could tell she was really stressed out. A couple of weeks after the bachelorette party, Lindsay showed up at my apartment late one night in tears. She told me that Rob had given her an ultimatum. Either she cuts ties with me and the rest of our friend group, or he'll break up with her. Lindsay was torn. She's been with Rob for so long, and I know she loves him, but she also didn't want to lose her friends. We stayed up all night talking about it. Lindsay opened up to me about how controlling Rob had become since his conversion to Islam. She said he constantly monitors her phone, tells her what she can and can't wear, and gets angry if she spends too much time with her friends. I had no idea things had gotten so bad. The next day, Lindsay decided to confront Rob. She told him that she wasn't going to cut ties with her friends, and that if he couldn't accept that, then maybe they shouldn't be together. Rob didn't take it well. He accused Lindsay of choosing her friends over him and stormed out of her apartment. A few days later, Lindsay found out that Rob had been spreading rumors about her to their mutual friends, saying that she was a bad influence and that she was leading him astray from his faith. Lindsay was devastated. She had always been there for Rob, even when he was going through his conversion, and now he was turning people against her. Meanwhile, I was dealing with my own drama. My fiancé and I had been arguing a lot lately, mostly about wedding planning stuff. I was starting to wonder if we were really ready to get married. One night, after a particularly bad fight, I found myself thinking about an old flame from college. We had always had a strong connection, but the timing was never right. I started to wonder what might have been if we had given it a shot. I knew I needed to talk to someone about what I was feeling, so I turned to Lindsay. She listened patiently as I poured my heart out to her. She reminded me of all the reasons why I fell in love with my fiancé in the first place, and helped me see that our fights were just a normal part of the stress of wedding planning. In the end, Lindsay decided to break things off with Rob for good. She realized that she deserved someone who would love and accept her for who she is, not try to change her. It wasn't easy, but she knew it was the right thing to do. As for me, I realized that my doubts about my fiancé were just cold feet. We talked things through and promised to be more patient and understanding with each other as we navigate this crazy wedding planning process. Looking back, I realized that the bachelorette party was a turning point for both Lindsay and me. It forced us to confront some hard truths about our relationships and ourselves. But in the end, I think we both came out stronger and more sure of what we want. Anyway, that's the latest from my end. Thanks for reading, and I'll keep you all posted on any new developments. Am I the idiot for suggesting therapy to my brother-in-law's wife and potentially causing their breakup? My fiance had a brother, Benji, 31 years old. Benji has a wife, Hannah, 30 years old. I'm not close with Hannah. I find her extremely overbearing, but I'm polite to her when I see her. My future in-laws find her similarly overbearing, perhaps more so because they're very straightforward, pragmatic people. They're polite and fun, but I'm under no illusions that they think of me as anything other than an add-on to my fiance. And that's fine, because it's the same for me. But this bothers Hannah, and at every family gathering, she corners me to compare notes on how hurt she is about something they've done or haven't done. I try my best to console her, but I don't really understand what she's upset about. I know it all probably stems from the fact that Hannah is not in contact, North Carolina, with her own family due to trauma, and probably thought she could marry a replacement family, but at the same time, I think that's mildly delusional. The problem is she tries to lump me in with her in terms of being upset about the lack of love from the in-laws, and I have to politely tell her to leave me out of it. Last weekend at a family gathering, she again pulled me aside and said that she hadn't received any gifts or cards from the in-laws for her birthday. They'd sent texts, but that wasn't good enough. She was unhappy because they sent Benji things in the mail for his birthday. I tried to explain that he's their child, but this didn't seem to resonate. She was getting worked up about it, saying she couldn't understand why they don't seem to express any love to her. I gently said that maybe it was time to talk to a professional because as much as you may wish for a good relationship with your in-laws, it's a bit unrealistic to expect or feel a deep need for them to love you, and that if it's affecting her mental health, she should take steps to heal. She did not take this well. She walked off and she and Benji disappeared. When Benji reappeared, he said I was way out of line for calling Hannah crazy. I explained that I didn't. I just said maybe she wants to talk to someone who can help her with these intense feelings of rejection because they're irrational and clearly affecting her. Benji said that's basically like saying her feelings are her fault. And I agreed because her feelings are hers and her responsibility. He and Hannah left after that. I normally get along really well with Benji, and I didn't realize the topic of therapy was so taboo or offensive. So I thought maybe they were overreacting. But when I told my fiance what happened, he just laughed and said, "Wow, you went for the jugular. You're right, but that was harsh." So now I'm thinking I went way over the line. I come from a family where therapy is pretty normal, so maybe I don't realize that it's a big deal. Is it wrong to recommend people get help? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She was looking for commiseration, not perspective or a resolution. She twisted your words to Benji when she didn't get the validation she was looking for. That makes her the sole common denominator in her problems with other people. She's not willing or able to see her role, which is the issue that you rightly suggested getting therapy for. NTA. Comment 2. NTA. You can't force people into the relationship you want. My mother-in-law says I love you to me. I'm never going to say it back. She's a lovely woman, but I don't love her. I view my husband's family like your in-laws view Hannah, as an add-on. That's just how it is. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post and I wanted to give you all an update on what's been happening. First off, thanks for all the support and advice you gave me last time. So after the whole incident at the family gathering, things got pretty tense between Benji, Hannah, and me. I tried to reach out to them to apologize and explain that I didn't mean to offend them, but they weren't really responding to my messages. I felt bad about how things went down, but at the same time, I still believed that what I said about therapy wasn't wrong. A few days later, my fiance and I were talking about the situation, and he mentioned that Benji had been going through some stuff at work. Apparently, there were rumors going around that Benji might get laid off due to budget cuts. My fiance said that Benji was really stressed out about it and that he and Hannah were arguing a lot more than usual. I started to feel even worse about what happened. I realized that maybe Hannah's behavior at the family gathering was partly due to the stress she and Benji were under. I decided to try and make things right, so I sent them a heartfelt message apologizing for my insensitivity and offering to be there for them if they needed anything. To my surprise, Hannah replied almost immediately. She thanked me for reaching out and apologized for overreacting. She said that she knew I was just trying to help and that she appreciated my concern. We ended up having a long conversation about everything that was going on, and I learned a lot more about her past and why she struggles so much with feeling accepted by the family. It turns out that Hannah's childhood was pretty rough. Her parents were always fighting, and she never felt like she belonged. But when she met Benji, she thought she had finally found the family she always wanted. But it's been harder than she expected to feel like a part of the group. She admitted that she often feels jealous of the attention Benji gets from his parents, and that she worries they don't like her. I listened and tried to be as supportive as I could. I told her that I understood how she felt and that it's okay to want to feel loved and accepted. I also gently suggested that maybe talking to a therapist could help her work through some of those feelings. And to my surprise, she agreed. Things seemed to be getting better after that, but then something happened that none of us saw coming. Benji found out that he was indeed being laid off from his job. He was devastated, and Hannah was beside herself with worry. They had just bought a house and were relying on Benji's income to make the payments. My fiance and I tried to be there for them as much as we could, but it was a really tough time. Benji was depressed and withdrawn, and Hannah was struggling to keep everything together. I felt helpless watching them go through such a difficult situation. Then about a week ago, Hannah called me in tears. She said that Benji had left her a note saying that he needed some time to himself and that he was going to stay with a friend for a while. She was beside herself with worry and didn't know what to do. I rushed over to their house to be with her, and we spent hours talking and crying together. I tried to reassure her that Benji would come back and that they would get through this, but I could tell she was really scared. It's been a few days since then, and we still haven't heard from Benji. Hannah is a wreck, and I'm doing my best to be there for her, but I'm worried too. I keep thinking about how I might have contributed to all of this by bringing up therapy at the family gathering. I know it's not entirely my fault, but I can't help but feel guilty. I'm trying to stay positive and be there for Hannah as much as I can, but it's been a really tough week. I'm hoping that Benji will come home soon and that they can work through this together. I know they love each other, and I believe they can get through anything if they stick together. Anyway, that's where things are at right now. Thanks for listening and for all your support. It means a lot to me to have this community to turn to when things get tough. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.